I don't know if I should plead insanity, or plead guilty to manslaughter, or plead self-defense, or plead not guilty. All I know is that I didn't kill that man out of anything from inside myself. I killed him out of fear, out of desperation, out of certainty that it was something I needed to do. Because I saw that red light shining through the window of that house, casting a glow onto the sidewalk. And whenever I see that light, something bad happens. Someone dies, or is badly injured, or they disappear. I've seen it many times, and it feels like each time I see it, it gets closer to me. Like eventually I will be the victim to whoever uses that light as their symbol, their tell. Or, that's what I thought before all this. But now I've seen things I can't explain. Things that make me think maybe I'm not all there. I think I'll just tell you my experience with that red light, start to finish. The first time I saw it was a couple years ago. I was walking home from work when I passed by a storefront with its windows illuminated by this red, glowing light. It was all I could see through the window, and it struck me as odd. The store in question had always been a hardware store, so it was strange to see something that might imply they had changed their business model. I mostly thought nothing of it, so I casually walked past, and then I heard the screaming. It started when I was maybe 7 feet past the storefront, and sounded like it was coming from that direction, so I turned my head. The light was gone from the window, and shortly after that, the screaming stopped. I was shaken, but dismissed it as nothing and continued walking home. I did take note of which store I had seen, and the address of the street, so I could look it up the next day, just to see if anything had happened. Well, the police had been called to that area after someone reported the screaming, and they found a woman's body in the back alley of a clothing store. At that time I hadn't connected the light to the murder. I mostly just felt bad for dismissing the screams and not calling the police. The next time I saw that light was at a rest stop on the way to a larger city, where my company was holding a conference. The rest stop itself was unremarkable. Just another rest stop. But when I left the bathroom I saw that light pouring out of the door on the other side of the building. It was night, so the red glow was very prominent against the blues and grays of the surrounding environment. And it seemed to be somehow brighter than the yellow fluorescence providing the rest of the light. Looking back at the parking lot, I could see only my car parked there, and the sense of being all alone made me feel uneasy. The light also felt out of place coming from inside that rest stop building, which only added to my creeping anxiety. I walked quickly back to my car, and as I did so I remembered the storefront incident from a couple months back. Once in the safety of my car, I looked up the rest stop. There were many missing cases with the stop as these people's last known location, and urban legends of boogeymen and highway ghosts surrounded it. At that point I left very quickly. After that I would see the light everywhere, followed by some terrible event, or in areas with sinister histories. I'd see it in a car park next to the bridge with the highest accident rate in the United States. I'd see it in a restaurant window, where 2 bodies were found mutilated the next day. I'd see it in the window of an office building, where 12 employees mysteriously went missing. I'd see it on the top floor of an old mansion that burnt down the same night. As I saw it more and more, it felt almost supernatural. But that's not what I thought it was. I had a theory, or a couple of theories. Either it was a serial killer, or a group of serial killers, or a cult. And this person or people used the red light as a symbol. I even called the police after seeing the light a couple of times, but they didn't listen to me, and they never followed up. That didn't stop me from believing my theories. I mean, I had the evidence right there. And when I posted my story on the internet through a popular horror blog under the tag True Stories, I had people corroborate my claims. I never actively searched for the culprit behind the crimes of that red light. I think it was out of fear and cowardice, because I did live in paranoia, a constant creeping fear that the light would catch up to me, and it would be my turn to die. So I hope you understand why, when I saw the red, glowing, piercing light in the window of that house, and saw the man following me 5 feet back, dressed in a trench coat and walking quickly with his head turned down, I began to fear for my life. Why I let him follow me to a dark, empty back street. Why I stopped pretending to be on my phone. Why, when he got close enough, I took the knife I always carried on me out of my pocket, turned around, and cut his throat. It was quick, in one swift motion. I wanted him to die quickly, so he wouldn't feel the pain. I didn't want to be cruel, I just wanted to protect myself, which is why I was horrified to see him lying on the ground, gurgling and bleeding out. I looked into his eyes and saw confusion, horror, and sadness. I had made a grave mistake. I had killed an innocent man. Repeating the words "I'm sorry," I pushed my hand against the wound on his neck, attempting to stop the blood flow. It was too late. I stumbled up to my feet, my hand covered in blood. I stood there in that empty back street, shaking, looking around, not knowing what to do. I looked down at his body and I just started running. There was no destination in mind. I just picked a direction and ran in it. Ran to leave that street, to get away. At some point along my frantic run I found a public water fountain, where I washed the blood off my hands. A little after that I saw the convenience store. Now, this is where it gets insane. I don't know if this really happened, or if it was from the guilt, or the shock, but this is what I remember happening. So, I saw the convenience store. It was weird, because I didn't remember there ever being one there, but I was also very shaken up and wasn't thinking straight. I think that's why I thought it would even be a good idea to go in. I was hungry, and at that point far from home, so I stumbled through the aisles lit by bright white fluorescent bulbs looking for a snack. I wanted something that would be quick and easy to eat. And after weaving through each section of the store, I decided those bright red hot dogs they always have rotating near the cashier were the best option. I approached the woman working the counter, thinking how eerie it would be to work the night shift, and asked for a hot dog. She had this sharp and fierce face, like a wolf. She looked at me like prey. And she had, what's it called when your eyes are two different colors? I don't know, but one was green, and one was blue. As she handed me my hot dog, she smiled this sharp smile, and said, "I know what you did." "What?" I replied. "I can see it in your eyes. And I can smell it. The guilt." She sniffed the air, taking it in, almost enjoying it. And then she described back to me in detail what had happened on that back street. How I had killed that man. I started to run for the exit, dropping my hot dog on the counter, but the whole wall facing the street was now one solid material. Upon closer inspection, the wall was made of, well, it looked like skin. And it looked like it was moving a little bit, pulsating. I looked around the store and the other walls were now that skin material. The woman behind the counter just laughed this sharp, guttural laugh. The walls began to shrink in, and the store became smaller and smaller. I scampered around like a rat, looking for any possible way out. I went up to one of the walls and tried to break through it, but I was met with teeth that pulled the skin off my knuckles. The skin was semi-translucent, and from outside the store I saw that red light shining faintly through. I knew this time I was surely dead. I found an area on the ground, next to a shelf in the middle of the store, and sat down, my hands wrapped around my legs. As the store slowly compacted, I heard a high-pitched frequency, and then a shattering noise. The woman at the counter screamed in pain. I looked to see that the street-facing wall of the store had been shattered, and two figures stood outside, red light shining behind them. One was a tall, dark woman, the other a wiry little man. The woman was holding an object that was pointed at the window, and when she entered the shop, she pointed it at the counter woman. As the little man entered the shop, the red light faded. "Don't move," the tall, dark woman said, gesturing at the woman with the different colored eyes. "We're going to have to extinguish you," the little man said. "Wait, don't," the counter woman said. "I'll do anything." She put her hands up and sort of kneeled on the ground, looking at the tall woman. "Okay," the tall woman said, "go back to your boss. Take some time off, take a lot of time off, even. Maybe retire. Maybe encourage some of your fellow employees to do the same. Okay?" "Okay," replied the counter woman. I think there's a human here," said the wiry man, as he began to walk down the aisles. I tried to stay as still as possible. "Let them go," said the tall woman. "Come on, show yourself." I stood up. She waved. Then she looked to the woman at the counter with the wolf face and the mismatched eyes and said, "Get the fuck out of here." Okay, she replied, and the whole store folded into her as she folded into herself. She was gone in an instant, a whir of flesh and chains. "That goes for you," the woman yelled at me. I started running again, trying once again to get away. This time I had a destination, though. So that's when I arrived at the police station and turned myself in.
Okay. Is that your official statement?
I guess.
All right, I'm thinking maybe you should plead insanity.